Hello, everyone, and welcome into Yelling from the Couch. I'm Brent Humphreys, joined by my co-host, Gene's Got Picks. Gene, welcome back in, man.
Hey, I'm glad to be back.
Ready to get started here with our best and worst thing that we saw from the last week. I'll go ahead and I'll get started with my best thing I saw from the week, and that is the Kentucky Wildcats absolutely pounding the Florida Gators
Yes, sir.
33-14, and it was not even that close. Kentucky dominated. Ray Davis went off, almost 300 yards rushing. They didn't have to pass a whole lot. They didn't need to pass a whole lot. That was just an absolute beatdown. Awesome to see Kentucky come out firing finally on offense. Still, the passing game's not where it needs to be, but you didn't need the passing game last week with Ray Davis the way he was running. He was breaking them left and right, and Florida had no answer for it. Awesome to see. That is my best of the week.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that being one of the best things this past week because outside of maybe like Caleb Williams and a few other quarterbacks that's in the run for the Heisman, Ray Davis, that game against Florida, that's to me solidify at least him into the top four rankings because I don't think we've seen anybody have a game like that yet in college football. Like you said, he almost had 300 yards. Um, he basically had all of the yards for Kentucky. It was not necessarily a one man show because the big boys up front had to get the holes open for him. But you know, Ray Davis is a guy. Like he might actually have some talks to be a higher draft pick. I don't know what his draft ranking was looking like, but to have a performance like that against Florida, and we was talking about how Florida offense not really that great, and we both felt like Kentucky had the better offense. What it came down to is Florida didn't have a Ray Davis.
No. They had an ETN, but he got 29 yards, but he was no Ray Davis on that day. Ray Davis, like I said, they took him out. He had 280 yards, took him out, and then they brought in the backup. It's a hard name to pronounce. He's from North Carolina State. He bust out a 28-yard run, and if they kept Davis in, that could have been Davis. He could have went over 300 easily. And after the game was over, he gave the big blue wall credit. The guys up front, a humble kid. Good to see it. Like you said, he's in that Heisman conversation now, and so glad he's on the Kentucky team. And after a while, we'll talk a little bit about a big game tonight, which Ray Davis could come in to play once again tonight. But Gene, if you want to, you go ahead with your best or your worst of this past week.
I would go with my worst because it was not too maybe 2 days ago. We was talking about NBA last time, and I was like, it's preseason. Let me just watch my Dallas Mavericks play there in Dubai. The Mavs Dubai game was pretty bad as the lead uh, slowly kept creeping up for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We was looking very small out there. I think at the end of the first quarter, it was like 37 to like 15. Like it was a terrible start for my Dallas Mavericks, but I'm hoping the season doesn't keep going with that because man, we did look very small, and I know a lot of teams are not going to have Rudy Gobert and Cat, two guys that are about 7 feet tall, 7 foot tall, playing the center and power forward, but it did not look good for us that first preseason game at all.
So did Kyrie and Luca and all them guys? Did they play in this game?
That's the funny thing. We played all our guys. They sat out Anthony Edwards, so that it was a bad look for the Timberwolves cook up with Rudy Gobert.
Well, it's kind of, it shows what kind of a week you've had when the worst thing you saw is a preseason basketball game. I mean, because look, my man had some pretty good things coming on this last week, and we'll get to it here in a second for your best of the week. But yeah, I didn't see any of that. But I didn't know they was playing in Dubai. But yeah, that's like you said. That's not a good look when your guys are out there playing against their guys without Anthony Edwards and not looking good. Maybe they can get it turned around just early preseason, but we'll see how that goes.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my worst of the week. And of course, it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals going to Nashville and leaving their offense back in Cincinnati. Just an absolute beatdown, 24-3 at halftime. Tennessee could do no wrong. Ryan Tannehill looked like he did a couple years ago. Derrick Henry looked like the old Derrick Henry. D-Hop looked like the old D-Hop, and they were just, looked like Tennessee when they got that number one seed a couple of years ago and was just, firing on all cylinders. The Bengals had no answer for them. Every time they had an answer, the Bengals ended up with a stupid defensive penalty and could not get off the field. Then the offense. Joe Burrow's calf, I guess, is hurting them more than it's helping them because he is just not mobile in the pocket. He just stands there and he's a standing target. And that's not the Joe Burrow. He was sacked 3 times, 26 yards, and he was hit quite a bit more. He was 20 of 30, 165 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Joe Mixon got 67 yards on the ground, but they just couldn't get things going. T. Higgins left the game with hurt ribs. He may be questionable for Sunday, but just an all-around awful performance by a team that is got the talent but just has not put it together yet through the first 4 games of the season. And it's just frustrating to see. That is my worst of the week, the Bengals.
Yeah, I could see how the vibes are pretty low right now for the Cincinnati Bengals. Because at first the thought was, you know, you play Joe Burrow. He's even with a bum leg, he's a lot better than what you may have at the second string spot. But now that everything has played out, it's probably looking like it would be best that he sat out those games. Um, because I mean, like you said, it's not the same Joe Burrow. They're also playing them different. Because when I was watching, they're sending a lot more pressure. It's like you know, it's obvious news that he's not 100% with the calf, and defensive coordinators are taking advantage. It seems like when they're playing the Bengals to send as much pressure as you can get away with. Um, because I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Bengals O line was also, always been questionable since Joe Burrow's been the quarterback there. So
Yeah.
it's not looking good right now for Cincinnati. I will say that. If there's anybody that I do have faith to turn it around, it is Joe Burrow. And in fact, I'm rooting for him this Sunday. I think they can get the job done against the Cardinals. It's kind of a must win. It's hard. It's kind of sad to say that against the Cardinals, but the Cardinals been playing everybody tough. But this week is a must win. I feel like if you can't get this game with Joe Burrow, and he's still looking very stagnant, can't really move out the pocket, it's probably best to just sit him for however many games you need to, because Joe Burrow already signed this long contract for a lot of money. You don't want to have him lose his confidence in a season that I won't necessarily write the season off yet, but it's not going great. You don't want to also put the cherry on top that Joe Burrow is going to be out for anything extra other than a calf.
He stated earlier in the week that he is now at 100%, but time will tell. I won't believe it until you see it out on the field because he stated that a couple weeks ago he's feeling pretty good and get out on the field last week and it's not showing. 2 weeks ago they were 0-2 going to play the Rams and that was a must win for the season right there. You didn't want to start 0-3. Well, you got that win. Like you said, it's hard to say that this game coming up against the Arizona Cardinals is going to be a must win, but it is a must win Arizona's not going to lay down for you. They have not laid down for anybody this season. They've played everybody tough. It's going to be a tough matchup, even though they're the more talented team, but it is a absolute have to win game for the Bengals in order to, if they want to do anything this season, they've got to win this game Monday night or Sunday afternoon. I was thinking the Monday night game with the Rams a couple weeks ago. So that's my worst. Gene, I know you could go a few different directions here on your best because it's been a great week to be a fan in Texas. Gene, what was your best of the week?
Well, I got to give the boys a shout out because I think they did what nobody expected. Unless maybe you're, a diehard Texas Rangers fan, sweeping the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
Now, you know, having to see Glass now that first game, I was like, you know what? If we lose this one, it's not the end of the world. We're seeing their best pitcher, probably to me, if we're being honest, the best pitcher between the two teams in the whole series. Um, and Glassnow really didn't even have a bad game. They were just having a bunch of errors, and they couldn't hit the ball at all. They couldn't. Well, they was getting guys in scoring positions, but they kept stalling out. So my Texas Rangers right now, everybody here that supports the Rangers are on cloud nine right now. We haven't had baseball in October in so long, and it's great to be here.
Oh, absolutely. The Tampa Bay Rays were almost 100-game winners this year, looking like the best team for the first part to the Orioles, come on and surpassed them. But for the Rangers to go out and shut them out, like you said, 4 errors for Tampa Bay that first game, and then to come back the second game the next day, and the Rangers just put a beat down on them 7-1, and just to sweep them out at their place. Now there wasn't hardly anybody at their place, but still, the Rangers had to go on the road regardless and took care of business. Rangers will move on now to the divisional series against the Baltimore Orioles starting today. How you feel about that series right there, Gene?
It's gonna be. I don't think we're sweeping these boys. These Baltimore Orioles. They get after it. I mean, their lineup kind of reminds me of the Rangers. You look through and then you're like, where do you get the outs? 1 through 9. Every guy can put the ball into the stands. So, the thing I will say, their pitching, at least their starting pitching, is not as scary as a team maybe like the Astros or even like the Twins. Um, I think we can get at their pitchers. The pitching, the one thing that separates the Rangers and Baltimore, they have a way better bullpen. You know, if I'll be honest with you, I don't even know who's really our closer. You can put Jose Leclerc, but at times in the season he was also struggling to find the strike zone. So and then Chapman, I mean, I forgot what game it was. I know for sure Houston they got after him, but I want to say it was against Seattle. Actually, now that I think about it, it was against Seattle that last series to clinch into getting the whole division. Chapman walked like 3 batters in a row. So and those are our 2 guys that I would say throw in the ninth inning. Um, so situations like that, it's going to be it's very much going to be a fight to figure out who is our closer and will the bats come alive. But uh, honestly, just happy to have playoff baseball.
Absolutely. It should be a good round coming up here. You know, on the National League side, you got 2 NL East teams. You got the Phillies and the Braves. That's going to be a great series.
Yeah,
And
that's a
then then you got the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. So teams that are really familiar with each other, they've seen each other several times. If you're the Braves and you're the Dodgers, you probably didn't want to see an in division rival this early in the playoffs, but there it is. We'll see how it goes for that. That'll be the MLB update of the week. So, switching back, you also had a pretty good week in the NFL with your Dallas Cowboys getting back on track and putting a beat down on the New England Patriots. How was that win for you?
It was great. But I'm not gonna put a lot of stock into this one because this is probably one of the worst teams Bill Belichick has ever had to coach. Mac Jones, Mac Jones looks he that game he looked terrible. He was throwing the ball across the field, and his pocket awareness. I understand that Dallas do I would say Dallas has a fairly uh you know respectable defensive line around the league. I think a lot of people know that Demarcus Lawrence, Michael Parsons, those guys bring it every time they're out there. But Mac Jones look like a deer in headlights out there. I want to say this kind of put us back in the right direction, but it's the game this Sunday against actually Sunday night. It's the 49ers that I'm going to put a lot of stock into because, like I said, with Bill Belichick, this is probably one of his worst teams that he's had to coach in his career. I think it was actually his worst loss in his career. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, and we didn't. It was another game where the offense is like, it was kind of nothing to really say he was impressed with. Other than we did move the ball down the field, but the red zone was still kind of fishy sometimes on deciding where we want to go with the ball. But great win. Still happy for the win, but um, I know it's still a lot to be seen with these Cowboys.
Yeah, it was a good bounce back win after falling to Arizona. You had to get this win, but just to put an absolute beat down on the New England Patriots, like you said, Belichick's probably worst team. Uh, Belichick really has not been the same. The Patriots have not been the same since Tom Brady left. People saying that Bill Belichick might be on the hot seat. I mean, he won you 6 Super Bowls, but what has he done for you lately? And we all know that the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league, and he has not done anything lately since Tom Brady has left. And Mac Jones, like you said, looked lost out there. It didn't help last year that Bill Belichick's offensive coordinators was a defensive coordinator and a special teams coach. That's not going to help your quarterback learn a playbook or anything like that. But just a dominating win for the Cowboys. And as you said, this Sunday night is going to be a very tough matchup, and you'll be able to tell what kind of team the Cowboys are going up against what I think is the best team in the NFL right now from top to bottom roster wise in the San Francisco 49ers. They have dominated everybody, and we'll just see how that goes Sunday. And it's in San Fran at nighttime. We'll be able to tell a lot about both of these teams after that game right there. Excited to see that one.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on the 49ers being the best team in the league right now. From like you said, from Brock Purdy, I won't necessarily just say he's maybe a top five quarterback, but he's surely not hurting them. And then you do have a for sure top three running back in the league with Christian McCaffrey. You have Debo, Brandon Ayuk, and then the defense. You
Kittle.
don't even have to really. Oh yeah, I can't forget. He's actually been quiet though, and that's what's kind of scary
Yeah.
because I remember last year in the playoff, he basically put the dagger in our heart when he broke the tackles and got all the way down in the red zone for them. So I'm not saying I'm expecting a big Kittle game, but you know, I wouldn't
He's
be
bound to
surprised.
break out.
Yeah,
So last week we talked about your Texas Longhorns, and they had a tough matchup against Kansas, and they handled business there, 40-14 beatdown. The week before, we was kind of talking like maybe they would have a tough go around with Baylor, and they beat them down. Well, this Saturday, It's the Red River rivalry. Texas,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Last year, Texas beat Oklahoma down 49-0. I don't think it's going to be like that this year. I think Texas will get the win. How are you feeling about this one, Gene?
Um, this is another test, like we was talking with the last topic. You know, Quinn Ewers is having a great year. And our running game is also has been pretty great as well. It's now time to see a team that is not only just great, from the get go, but there's bad blood. And anytime a team that has history, like it's not just some game this week when you play OU. This is a game where a lot of people have came before you, and it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears at that Cotton Bowl between these two teams. And you're not only playing, for yourself and for scholarships, money, and all that, NIL deals, but you're playing for the history behind being a Texas Longhorn or the history behind being a Oklahoma Sooner. Um, I feel like Texas do win this game, but I also think it comes down to who has the ball last. Like you said, it was 49-0 last year. I say it's going to still be a high scoring game, like maybe 42 to 45 or something like that. I don't think either of these defenses are going to stop one another. I think it comes down to who has the ball last, and also the running game. I think whoever can keep the ball, keep the possession, time possession on their side, definitely has a better chance of winning this game because it's going to be fireworks. It's going to be points, and you want to make sure that your defense is off the field, at least more than the other team. So, I'm definitely looking forward to this game.
Yeah, me too. Texas is a 5-point favorite. I think it'll be, like you said, probably a field goal game in here, and definitely taking the over. I'm not sure what the over under is, but definitely probably take the over on this. I think it's 60.5 maybe is what I seen earlier. But
Nice.
so and then that is probably the biggest game of the day. But what is probably the second biggest game of the day is a top 20 matchup. The Kentucky Wildcats, as I mentioned earlier, is my best of the week. Travel down to Georgia to face the Georgia Bulldogs in a night game. This game, Georgia is a 14.5 point favorite, but Georgia has not covered all season long. They've won every game. Last week they struggled against Auburn and was actually down, or it was actually tied in the fourth quarter. Auburn did, and Georgia ended up scoring a touchdown at the end to win the game with like 2 minutes left. But Georgia, I don't think is the same Georgia as it has been the last couple of years. Last season, Georgia beat Kentucky at Kentucky 16-6. This year, we'll see. Georgia does give up a lot of rushing yards. Auburn ran for over 250 rushing yards against them, and with Ray Davis, if we can get him going, I feel pretty good about the chances. I don't know if I think that they'll win, but they can play them close. And if you play them close into the fourth quarter, you've got a chance like anybody else. What do you think about this matchup, Gene?
I think you're being nice. I think Kentucky very much so can win this game outright. The reasoning I think that they can win this game outright is because the boys up front. This Georgia team, they're used to just being physically, stronger than everybody they have to come across, even leading up into the championship game. But this Kentucky team, like you said, they can run the ball. They can get those big boys moving, pulling across the field, and they're laying some wood. And I do think to play it safe, if you used to bet this game or anything, like take the points. But I honestly think this Kentucky team is. I think a lot of the outsiders like me from Texas. I think a lot of us slept on this Kentucky team. What they had cooking up. This team definitely I think can impose their will. Now, what I will say, you know, will kind of be questionable is how will they respond? How will their defense respond? Because Georgia still got guys like Brock Bowers, who is just a monster out there. But I think the offense can go bar for bar with Georgia. They have been to me a pretty much a letdown team this year. Like I said, they haven't covered a single game, and we know how Georgia spread would usually be. It's, about a 20, probably average around like 20 some points a game that they have to cover, and they have just not been that this year. They've been playing everybody close. I think Kentucky can get this done today. Actually,
Yeah, that's what worries me most is Brock Bowers on the other side. That guy is a monster. He's going to be a first round pick, and he's going to be starting in the NFL next season for tight end. But Carson Beck is not Stetson Bennett. Had to think of his name there. Stetson Bennett, 2-time national champion. That's a step down. They lost that. Georgia's not the same on defense. Kentucky, like I said, they've got a shot. They just got to go out, and if they can come out and they can punch Georgia in the mouth right off the bat and just keep at them, they'll have a good shot of it. I think that they can cover that spread. I may even have put a little bit of money down for Kentucky money line last week after the Florida game because I might have got a little excited on that. But hopefully they'll go out and they'll do it. We'll have to wait and see. Real excited for tonight's game. Excited to watch the Red River Rivalry. Uh, so speaking of, gambling was just legal in Kentucky this past Thursday.
hmm
The first weekend, pretty good weekend. Did you watch any of the Kansas City New York game on Sunday? Because of course, you know Taylor Swift was in the house once again, and why else would we tune into a football game but to see Taylor Swift out there to watch Travis Kelce and the Chiefs play? Did you check that game out any?
yeah, I looked at it for a little bit. I was coming back from a Cowboys game, and the Chiefs. I mean, man, I'll cut them some slack because when you go to Super Bowl, you're playing. You have a way shorter off season than everybody, so you can't maybe recover as well as a team that you know finished playing football in December. But Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he's been struggling in these games, and turning over the ball. That wasn't something that was common for him. So I'm hoping he get that figured out. But I was impressed with Zach Wilson. He did, turn over the ball as well to kind of cost the game. But
Yep.
you know, and seeing the Taylor Swift, I mean, who wouldn't have checked into that game knowing that I'm gonna see Taylor Swift maybe 80 times, even if Travis Kelce doesn't score, we're gonna put the camera on Taylor Swift to see how she's celebrating. It was a great game though, all the way through. I don't know. You talking about gambling? I do remember Mahomes sliding to mess
Yes.
over the. That is that's criminal. That is criminal right there.
Yeah, Chiefs 9.5 point spread. They're up three, and Mahomes just takes a slide at the 2 yard line, which would have put the over on the Chiefs covering the spread if he'd have done that. Kind of bad for some people. I did not have that one, but so that one didn't bother me as bad. But Zach Wilson played his best the other day. He fumbled that snap, of course, but the call of holding on Sauce Gardner to give the Chiefs automatic first down on third down was questionable at best in that game, and Robert Saleh on the sideline looked like he was going to explode. And I didn't blame him after seeing that, but uh, great game, for a Sunday night game without Aaron Rodgers. NBC and them had to think, Oh man, we're getting Zach Wilson instead of Aaron Rodgers. They probably never
Yeah,
thought that that game would have been the way it was, and they were probably banking on Taylor Swift to get these ratings and everything. But Zach Wilson actually went out and played probably his best game of his career Sunday in a loss.
yeah, that's what sucks too. Like you play your best game and it's still not enough. But one positive thing I will say, a lot of his teammates was patting him on the back and letting him know, hey, it's okay. I feel like if this was last year, they was his teammates was beefing with him. They just did not click.
Yeah.
So, for them to for Zach Wilson to now kind of be babyface, and I think the locker room somewhat supports him because they have no choice this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they won't necessarily probably make the playoffs, but I can see them at least getting a few wins with Zach Wilson and him showing that if he's not maybe ready this year to play quarterback, if he can get a full year behind Aaron Rodgers and really just watch, one of the greats, play the game in front of him and break it down and all the film session and get all that right. He might can get because he has all the intangibles. He has all the skills to be a great quarterback. It's just it can never come together when he needs it. But I think the Jets is going to have a pretty enjoyable season. If you're a fan, I think games are still going to be something to look forward to, even with Rodgers out this year.
Yeah, they got a chance to get in the win column this Sunday against Denver. So, switching over to one of our topics we've had for the last few weeks, and it is Coach Prime in Colorado. Did not get embarrassed last week, almost came back and almost won that game, was very respectable against USC without Travis Hunter again. Uh, and after just taking a beat down against Oregon, for them to come back and to be competitive, not in the first half, but in the second half, and almost pull off the upset of USC, very impressive. What'd you think about that game last week, Gene?
I was watching the first half, and I was like, man, you know, Colorado, they're not necessarily playing bad, but they kept putting their foot in their mouth, making stupid penalties or you know getting caught, maybe looking at the quarterback and letting the receiver get wide open, or just simply not tackling the guy. I don't know how you get all the way to Division 1 football and you're struggling to tackle a guy that's right in your face. I know it's easy for me to watch through a TV screen, but with NIL money now being a thing, these guys are semi-professional to say the least. I at least expect you to make a tackle on a guy when he's right there by you. But after the first half, that offense started clicking a little bit better, and like you said, they tried to make a run for it. I feel like if they maybe had another quarter, maybe they could have got the win, but they still have a long way to go. I say the more disappointing thing for that game was how bad USC defense is because we know Colorado's not making the playoffs. They're not even gonna probably get a great bowl game. Just making a bowl game would be a success for them. But this USC defense is probably one of the worst defenses I've ever seen on a good team. Um, they if you can't stop Colorado after you basically you know did every, offense did everything that they could do, putting up the points for you. That game shouldn't have been that close.
No.
I don't know what USC is going to do as far as defensive coordinator, but I'm sure there's been a lot of meetings between Lincoln Riley and his defensive coordinator because that's kind of a joke for Oregon to you know put their foot on the Colorado neck and don't even really let them score a touchdown till it's literally garbage time. And
Mm-hmm.
then Colorado basically gets up, almost fight their way back for a win against USC. That's not a good look.
Yeah, and USC, I mean, it's a good thing they've got Caleb Williams because if not, they probably would have lost that game last week, like you said, due to their defense. We'll just see how that goes. But Colorado today face Arizona State. Good chance to get back in the win column for Colorado today. Be interesting to see. Like you said, they're 3-2. They're not making the playoff, of course. Not even going to make a good bowl at this point. It'd be, just good just to get 3 more wins and get a bowl, get going, come back next year, and we'll see how they do in the Big 12 next year.
Yeah, that's actually going to be pretty exciting to see because Big 12 is all about offense, and I think that helps out Shador with his game, and that helps out the defense as well because Pac-12 stayed together. I mean, them boys played defense out there. Oregon was hitting them boys in the mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not asking questions. But you know, if Colorado makes a Bahama Bowl, that's still a success.
Yeah, I mean, they've already tripled their win total from last year. Getting to a bowl would be huge this season. And then, like I said, just get them started for next year and see where they go from there. Well, man, do you have anything else you'd like to discuss here?
Nah, we got a full slate of sports. Whatever you like, baseball, football. It's all here. I think it's actually another preseason game with the Warriors versus the Lakers, and I doubt LeBron is playing, but I'm sure if you're a basketball lover, it's something for you to watch.
Yeah, it's getting ramped up to where we're gonna have all of them going at once here. Regular season, postseason, and regular season NBA coming up soon. So, well, man, thank you for coming on, and we'll be back here next week to see how our weeks went. You had a pretty good week last week. Let's see if it'll continue, and maybe my teams will do the same for me this week. We'll see.
Yes, sir. Can't wait for this Kentucky game.
Oh yeah, and then we got the Red River Rivalry coming up. If I could say it right, I mean that's really tongue twister. Every
Yeah, I
time I
mean,
say it.
it was a Red River shootout, and they just decided to change it. Like, come on,
Yeah, it's like, can we just keep the shootout? Because I mean, it's
man.
not much of a tongue twister. I could say Red River Shootout, but Red River Rivalry, I mean, it's it's too much. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. We'll see you.
Yay!